So you're currently in your 14th season of Blue Bloods, and you have been very candid about hoping to continue the run of the show. How hopeful are you that it can continue in some capacity?
Well, it's real simple. The way everything came down, we were going to do an 18 show, 14th season. With the strike, we did a 10 show season just like everybody else in the last couple episodes. And then we kept shooting. And we're shooting right now for what I'd like to remind CBS is a 15th season. We are a 15th season show. But look, here's the deal. It's May. You're talking about us airing, they say 8 shows in the fall. But that's November. I'm not going to just sit around doing a countdown to then. I'm going to stay optimistic because everybody on the show wants to do it. So I'm just staying optimistic and say, well, I'm waiting for them to come to their senses because Magnum went out a huge success. Our series finale, we had 50.7 million viewers. It's the 5th highest of all time. And Blue Bloods is right now rather wildly successful. Not to brag, but the people on our show, if and when it ends, deserve this kind of 5-star entry on their resume that Magnum went off in success. So the reason I talk about it this much is really so the public doesn't think we're just kind of winding down and the show's tired. We're as good as ever and very successful.
And I am hopeful that it will continue. And I do believe you said it best, you never know.
You do, you never know. Over time, I think this job became my definition, so if I quit or you fired me, I don't know who I'd be.
I tell you what, you never know, man.
Yeah, you never know. An accidental career.
Isn't that something? Look at this handsome gent. I love this cover.
Yeah, that's somewhere around the era that I deal with mostly in the book.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like you have lived so many lives, sir, but what was the experience like in looking back over the course of your life and your career for this memoir?
It's funny, it's difficult.
Really?
Yeah. I've written, I don't know, about 12 screenplays, sometimes with a partner, but I would find I would write. I wrote, not when I was doing Blue Bloods, I can't do them both at once. So when I got back to LA each time, I would sit down and write for about, 2.5 hours in the afternoon, and then I wouldn't think much of it. And then I'd go down and have dinner with my wife, or my wife and Hannah, and I would start to read this stuff to them because Jilly always wanted to hear it.
Right.
And I'd get real emotional as I read it. Even whether it didn't have to be a sad part of the book or just the sharing of it was, so yeah, there's an emotional element. I tried to be honest, not hype anything up, and wasn't going to do a book about who I dated or getting even or politics. So it's
Your
about
journey.
the work,
Right.
a very long kind of accidental career.
And you say it's an accidental career. How so, sir? You were at USC.
Well, I was at USC studying business.
Right.
Or pretending I was studying business. I didn't have a very good academic record.
You were having fun in other areas of life.
College was too much fun.
Right.
And playing basketball, or sitting on the bench at USC, but I never thought of that. You know, if I wanted to I had fantasies about being a professional baseball player, but never about acting. I never did a play, never studied or anything. And I think I was just very fortunate to grow up in the city where the business is.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's not like I was discovered, but somebody saw me on the dating game, said there's a talent program at Fox, and it's a new talent program, so they train you, and that's how I got exposed to it. I did a terrible audition.
How so, Tom? I find that very hard to believe.
I'd never done an audition for a play in my life. I'd never done a play in my life. So I didn't know what I was doing.
But you were landing, like, slowly but surely, you were going in for commercial auditions, and these commercials, one led to another.
I did commercials, a lot of stupid ones.
Hey, but they were paying the
good
bills,
ones.
right?
Yeah, I remember one where I didn't know, it was for Dubonnet aperitif, and it was a Western theme. I didn't know who my leading lady was. So, when I got to the set, they introduced me to Farrah. That was kind of neat.
And by Farrah, we mean Fawcett, y'all.
Yeah.
Farrah Fawcett.
I got paid to flirt with her for 2 days.
That sounds like a tough gig.
Yeah, it was a good gig.
But had circumstances been different, the commercials didn't work out, what profession do you think you might be in now? Had acting
I can't imagine any other. Look, it was a long road. I was 35 when I got Magnum.
It's over now. It's over.
Isn't that something? Because you had 6 pilots that didn't pan out
I did
before
6
Magnum.
pilots that didn't sell. So if I went on an interview, I didn't know whether to tell them or not. When they say, "What have you done?"
Right. Because now they want
how
you to
do
be a leading man.
Yeah, why tell somebody you did 6 failed shows, you know? So I was a pretty well-kept secret, and that's because of the way Magnum rolled out, that was a blessing too. So you never know.
You never know.
I did have another title.
What was it?
The publisher said it was too long, but my first title was, don't know where I'm going, but there's no use being late.
Because that's
But
another
they said
saying
that's
of
too
yours.
many words.
You never know is great. You never know is great. You know, you weren't an overnight success, as you have shared.
No.
6 sailed.
Some people wrote that I was. That's one of the reasons it was fun doing the book. 'Cause
Right.
I got to share a lot of stuff with them. I didn't
anything
just
but.
go on the dating game and
Be discovered.
get under contract to a studio and do Magnum.
Yeah.
Because that was a big, long road.
It sure was. What did you learn from the struggles and the disappointments that you faced?
I learned the same thing I learned from sports, that you have to have an appetite for failure. 99% of the jobs you go out for, you're not going to get, and it's a little like sports. I mean, the rejection is you.
Yeah.
Not some product you're selling, not a widget or something. So, but sports and my parents were great, gave me the tools to kind of deal with that. And failure is, a lot of people are afraid of it. If you make friends with it, it's the teacher that gets you somewhere else.
And you were such a great teacher to yourself as well. I thought the vulnerability that you share in this book was something, and to know that you had it for quite some time. But there's something that you would say, it's a recurring theme in this book. You would constantly tell yourself, I am enough, as you would go into roles, as you would start productions. So at what point were you able to disregard that critic on your shoulder?
I had a critic on my shoulder. Most actors do, and you gotta either say, get off my shoulder, or brush them off, literally.
Well, at what
I've
point,
done both.
At what point did you do that, though, in your career?
All the way. I mean, look, I think there's a common language we actors speak, and I think they'll understand it in this book. And I hope young actors read this book. But yeah, it was, you're enough, Tom, was a way of saying, there's a lot of people who can do this part. You got to find your own way. And if you do and commit to it, you're enough. It was a way of just kind of, interviews are scary, and you're going to lose, I don't know, 40, 50% of your talent just from the nerves. Yeah. So it was a way of just dealing with it and getting ready for an audition. And if you failed, so what?
because you never know.
There you go.
Well, thank you for your time today.
Thanks.
You are
It was fun,
a
Rach.
legend. Well, thank you. I really enjoyed reading the book, and
I
I
don't
can't
feel
wait
like
for.
a legend.
But you are. And when is book number 2 coming out? Because there's so much more to tell.
There's a lot of stuff.
So when's the next one coming out?
Yeah. I don't know. I didn't do the first one to, set up the second one because it was hard.
I know.
Took me 4 years. I'm computer illiterate. I had a yellow legal pad and a pen, and that's how I wrote that.